welcome to the first lesson on harmony. Now we're going to look at chord charts, which is all about how to construct a chord chart to make it absolutely clear. Now, a chord chart is the simplest way to construct a chart of chords, funnily enough, used in a key signature. It's also the name for a diagram of where to put your fingers for guitar chords, but generally speaking, when talking about harmony, a chord chart is this. It's a vital tool for composing as well as understanding simple chord sequences used in songs. Now, when we are talking about chords, as you'll see a little bit later, it's important to look at the definitions. A capital letter by itself just means a major chord, starting with whatever the letter is, whatever the note is. And a capital letter with a lowercase m next to it indicates a minor chord, as we'll see soon. Now, in this particular chord chart, we have numbers across the top. They tell us what chords they are, as will make sense when we start organizing chords in a chord sequence. We'll say chord 1 to chord 4 to chord 5, and so on and so forth. Down at the bottom row, we have root, which hopefully you'll remember from the melody course. When we're talking about a scale, the root note is the note that the scale starts on. Similarly, when talking about harmony, the root note of a chord is the note that the chord is named after, the note the chord starts on, down at the bottom. So we have a root note for each numbered chord. Then we have a row for the third notes of each chord and the fifth notes. These are talking about degrees of the scale starting from the root note. Now, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Don't worry if what I just said doesn't make sense. We're going to start from the ground up now. We're going to start from the roots up. Here we go. Down at the bottom, we have the C major scale, which we already know from the previous course. So I've just put the notes in there. C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Now we don't have the octave because it'd just be a repetition of the first chord, just played higher. So we're leaving that out when we're talking about harmony and chord charts. Now, to find the third above C, we need to look at what note is down at the bottom of column number 3, which gives us E. Then to find the next note, we look at what comes next after E. It's F. And then we just follow along. G, A, B, then back to C, then D. It's as easy as that, folks. Now to find a fifth, guess what? Just like with the third, we're going to follow the number. Fifth, we look at what's down at the bottom of column number 5, G, and that tells us what is a fifth above C. G. Then again, just like with the third row, we are just following it along. A, B, then back to the beginning. C, D, E, and F. That gives us our fully completed major chord chart. Now we're going to look at the tonality of these chords. Well, that means tonality is just if it's major or minor. That's all that means for now. That's all you need to worry about what tonality is. Is it major? Happy sounding. Or is it minor? Sad sounding. First of all, in a major chord chart, the first chord will always be major. Just like in a minor chord chart, as we'll see in the next slide, will always be minor. So, C major, C, E, G. D minor is where the definitions come in. Remember, capital letter by itself is major, with a little m next to it is minor. So we've got D minor. The second chord in C major is minor. Same as the third chord is minor. The fourth is major, F major, for this particular example. And then we have G major. The fifth is always major in a major chord chart. Then sixth is minor. And the seventh, ooh, something weird here. B dim. What is that? It means diminished. Don't worry, you don't need to know exactly what that means yet. It will all become clear in the passing chords lesson. But for now, you may be drawn to what are these weird symbols underneath. If you've never seen Roman numerals before, this is what they look like. The capital I underneath the C major is basically the capital letter form of Roman numerals, but the dotted I's are lowercase. So we use lowercase for minor sounding chords and capital for major sounding chords. That's why C major, F major, and G major have the capitals and the minors have the lowercase. And the diminished chord has the little circle next to it as well. That will make sense later. The Roman numerals, the reason why they're there is because in classical music, and when we're talking about cadences, it's perfectly acceptable in an exam situation put Roman numerals instead of naming a particular chord when you're talking about cadences or chord sequences, unless it asks for what specific chord. I doubt it would ask that for a listening question, but just a little bit of context. Now, minor chord chart. We fill it out exactly the same way. We filled out the root row using the minor scale formula. So as you can see, we have the 3rd, 6th, and 7th degrees flattened. And we have a couple of new definitions, minor third and major third. We're going to look into that and why that is there in a minute. But for now, let's fill out the rest of the chord chart. Third above C, look at column 3, what's at the bottom? Oh, E flat, boom. Following the row along, F, G, A flat, B flat, back to the beginning, C, and then D. 5th, column number 5, what's at the bottom? Oh, G. And fill out the rest of the row. What's after G? A flat. After A flat, B flat. Back to the beginning, C. After C, it's D. After D, it's E flat. After E flat, it's F. That gives us our complete chord chart. So, as with the major chord chart as well, if someone asks you to play chord 1 in C minor, you would play C, E flat, and G. If it's a block chord, all at the same time. If it's a broken chord, at separate times. But you would always start with the root note of the chord. Anyway, more on that later. Tonality. Minor to start with, because of course it's a minor chord chart. Then, I thought number 7 was diminished. No, in a minor chord chart, number 2 is diminished. Then we have major for chord number 3. Then 4 and 5 are minor. Just like in the major chord chart, chords 1, 4, and 5 are major. In a minor chord chart, chord 1, 4, and 5 are minor. Then number 6 and 7 are major.